Tonight I'll be talking not specifically about how to organize your space or your office or your desk, although that is primarily the type of work I do with clients in helping them boost productivity and get organized. Tonight I'll be talking specifically about one of my passions, which is how to use technology effectively in your business to help you boost productivity and stay organized. So briefly about me, who is this guy? I am a certified professional organizer. I'm one of the first in the nation. I got that designation about 3 years ago. I'm also the president of the National Association of Professional Organizers San Francisco Bay Area chapter, which is the largest chapter of organizers in the nation. I speak a lot at groups like this, and I also blog a lot and talk to small business association type organizations about these topics. So I'm really familiar with the needs of entrepreneurs and small businesses specifically, which is different than an organizer that works in residential settings. What is a professional organizer? Someone like me, who you may have seen on Oprah or on a talk show that goes in and organizes people's spaces, that helps them in a variety of ways. It could be with their home, maybe organizing a closet, or in their business, organizing a filing system or their email. It really runs the gamut, and each organizer specializes in something different. As I said, my specialty is working with entrepreneurs and solo professionals. So tonight's topic is all about online tools that you can use in your business to boost your productivity. This differs from tools that live on your computer. So let's define what we're talking about tonight. We'll be talking about online tools, that is software as a service. This means that you log into a website somewhere where they host a specific application or a tool that you can use. This will not be something that you download to your computer. That's a different type of application. So by definition, this lives online. You'll need to be connected to the internet to use it. With these types of applications, you typically either get them for free, usually in an ad-supported version, or you might pay a monthly or an annual fee. And specifically, the ones that we're looking at will be relatively inexpensive. Why use online tools in the first place? There are plenty of applications that you can download and use on your computer. Why use ones that are online? There are a bunch of pluses to going this route. First, it's really easy to set this up. You generally just sign up for the service with your username or password or your email address, and there's no more installation or software setup that you need to do. So the IT support that you'll need to provide is really minimal. Generally, there's none at all. If you have an internet connection and that's working, then the application is probably working for you as well. Additionally, one of the things that I work on a lot with clients is making sure that if they have any data at all on their computers that's important to them, that it gets backed up. If you use a software as a service, typically the service itself is backing up your data. So that's one less thing that you have to do. Another plus of going this route is that the services are typically very cheap or even free, which for those of us in small businesses is always a concern. How can we get the most value? And when something's free, especially if it's a good service, that's something I'm always looking for my clients and for myself. Why not use online tools? There are reasons that this might not be the right fit for you. First, you need to be online. If you're not always connected, if you don't have a persistent internet connection like DSL or cable, or you're infrequently connected to the internet, these may not be the right choice for you because by definition they live somewhere else. You need to be able to connect to them to use their services effectively. The interface, how things look and feel and how you use them on the computer is usually really different with something that lives on the internet versus something that lives on your computer as a desktop application. So if you're really used to and familiar and comfortable with working with tools that live on your computer where you go into the start menu or go into the Apple menu and launch a new program, things will be somewhat different. So expect that. Now this is a big concern for a lot of us, security. When something lives online, it lives on someone else's servers, somewhere out on the internet. By definition, that means we don't have control over it all the time. So if we're keeping sensitive information like client data or financial data somewhere else, it's important that you check up on whatever company you're going to be working with, whatever their privacy policy and security procedures are, so that you can be comfortable knowing that your data is safe with them. And as we've seen in the news, there's breaches all the time of even governmental data and banking data. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding whether these things are right for you. This is also another caveat. With desktop software that you go to the store and you purchase, it feels like you own something. You bought the box, you have the disk, there's something that sits on your shelf that says, hey, I own Microsoft Office. When you use software as a service or an online tool, there isn't anything physical. So it doesn't feel like you own it. And for some people that's really okay. Personally, I want to own as few things as possible because that's less for me to keep track of. But some people really want to feel like, hey, I have the disk, this is mine. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at making this transition. Yes?
There's another issue. Do you own your data? If you put your data out there, can you ever get it back?
Well, that's a very good question. One of the things to think about when you're looking at evaluating these services is what's the ability for you later, if you decide to not continue with this service, to download your data to use someplace else. So not every service lets you do that, and that's a very good point. And some do, most do, typically, but some don't. Yes?
What happens if one of these services tanks?
So that's another concern. The ones I'm looking at are bigger ones. So another thing to think about, and that's a good point as well, is especially with brand new services, you want to be cautious about who you give your data to, because some of them go out of business really quickly and some of them stick around for a while. That's why some of the ones we'll be looking at are the bigger names that are more established players. Okay, the rules for the list that we'll be looking at tonight. I'll be covering some online tools, probably some of which you've heard of, some of which you may not. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's a pretty comprehensive one. All of the things we're looking at need to be web-based. They need to be online. They need to work across multiple platforms. They need to be able to work on a Mac, PC, Linux, whatever box you're on. As long as you have a browser, it should work with it. It has to actually be useful. There's plenty of online tools out there that provide a minimal function and look really cool or are fun to use, but don't actually boost productivity in any meaningful way. So all of these, I believe, I've used them also, do actually provide real utility. As I said, all of these I've actually used and tried, so I can talk about them with assurance that they actually can work for you. And since our talk is free or cheap, cheap is under $25 a month. Most of these are much cheaper than that, but that's kind of the top end range that we're looking at. Evaluation criteria, how we'll be looking at each of these different software tools. We're going to define what it is, why you'd want it, what can it actually do for you, why would you want to even bother signing up for it in the first place, different ways to use it beyond what's obvious, and the cost. And there'll be some time at the end for Q&A. And don't worry about furiously writing down notes. If you give me your business card at the end, I'll send you a list of all these resources. Our categories, we're going to look at a bunch of stuff. The realm of Google, including email and scheduling. We'll look at a specific tool that I like for contact management. We'll look at a couple different tools that can help you collaborate on documents and other types of things with your peers. We'll be looking at how to manage some of your tasks and your notes and your to-dos. We'll also be looking at, if you've got multiple computers and you need to synchronize them, some easy ways to do that, and also how to back up your computers off-site. And if we have time, a tool that I like for online paper management, which seems like an oxymoron, but in actuality is a reality for us.